So let me begin with Mr. Fix-It on State Street, Adam Zellner. Adam, with eminent domain being restricted by the courts and considered a radioactive political hot potato by many local officials, how are we going to assemble large tract, shovel-ready sites to get smart growth areas moving?
Okay, an easy one to start out. Eminent domain, it's just interesting in the framing of the question, and I start there. When you look at eminent domain and the purposes it would set out for, and sort of the question about how we get large land masses together for redevelopment, you begin to see the immediate rub. Eminent domain in its initial form was always about public works projects, about the greater good for usually the national good, state good, federal good, whatever it was, roads, etc. It has evolved over the years, and I start out there because the courts have clearly begun a process where they're relooking at eminent domain. They're relooking at what it really means to be a public works project, a project that benefits a community as a whole, not just a redevelopment project. So I think some of the folks echoed this morning, it starts with really good planning. You have to know exactly where it is that you want to be, what are the metes and bounds of that area, who owns the property, and it has to be done in conjunction with the municipality and with the county, and in some cases even school boards, because I think as you move forward, it's going to take that planning that will set out sort of the framework for what you're trying to achieve, why this is a redevelopment area, what are the impacts holistically to a community, because I think the courts have said often, you know, if you tighten the framework that you're looking at, you can only show me a very specific good for a localized neighborhood, that does not qualify for the use of a community benefit. The second thing is, and this goes to the partnership, you need to understand land ownership. What are the conditions of the land? What's contaminated? What are the liens on this property? Where do you have municipal ownership, county ownership, other ownership? Because as part of that massing of land, there's an opportunity to do swaps, an opportunity to arrange deals as part of cleanup, all sorts of things that many people go in not knowing. And I can't tell you how many towns have gone in not actually knowing what's underneath the ground. Last but not least, areas in need of redevelopment, areas in need of rehabilitation, two different designations. They trigger different things. They have different tools. But from a political perspective, it also means a different level of interaction in terms of, I'll say, reaction with the community. Areas in need of rehabilitation oftentimes don't get the kind of immediate knee-jerk reaction that you'll find. And there are different tools that don't include eminent domain, but do include a unique ability to negotiate. So I'll cap it up saying very easily, you got to plan it very well so that you know exactly what is in it, who owns it, what benefits are there, what opportunities are there for land swaps, for cleanups, for deals, and you got to move forward in a way that obviously has the most community involvement you can, because without it, as you've seen in some projects, you will find immediately that those detractors will sue, and it's a long battle. Where in other projects, even here in Newark, there are some folks who've managed to acquire an incredible amount of land without using eminent domain at this point. So,
any of our panelists want to react? Stefan, I'm going to put you on the spot. You have a giant opportunity in the way of your Portfields district. What do you say to the property owner who, with the impotent threat now of eminent domain, says, you can't take my property, I know my rights, if you really want it, I want 10 times value. How do you bring that property owner around?
For every municipality, for every government official, consistent with what Adam is saying, eminent domain is never the first resort. It is certainly the last resort. There are many techniques that can be utilized prior to seeking an area in need of redevelopment status for a set of properties. Having said that, I don't think that in the public mind the concern is industrial property that was always intended to be industrial, always intended to be high job generating. I don't think that in the public mind the concern is land that lies fallow that may contain a junkyard that ought to be a distribution center that feeds the port and as a function of that really drives our economy. So I think there ought to be, as a matter of law and as a matter of policy and practice, distinctions across residential and industrial districts. I also think that there ought to be distinctions as between urban and, if you will, non-urban sites, because I think there are reasons to seek job generation in communities where there are indicators of distress, joblessness, underemployment, and other urban distress factors. And frankly, I think that the dialogue to date has been much too coarse-grained and needs to become fine-grained around these issues. No one is looking to take a home and displace a resident or a set of residents who are living in their homestead. But nonetheless, our state is not looking to impede the progress that is essential, especially in our industrial districts. I think that's where the dialogue needs to go.
But let's be clear, as we make our list of top issues that are making the numbers not pencil out, condemnation in a post-kilo, post-Gallatin world is going to cost more money and take more time to get all the puppies in the kennel at one time and keep them there, stitch together loosely options and contracts, letters of intent, and get a closing to cataclysmically happen. It's going to take time and cost more money. That's the new reality of not only New Jersey, but any land-constrained state. We just happen to be, I guess, in the unique but also fortuitous position of being a pioneer, as our state now finds itself with the distinction of becoming the first fully built-out state in the nation, according to ULI. And if we're not there today, we certainly are darn close. This morning, so that's money and time. Let's talk about a pure money item. This morning, we heard Leslie Anderson from the New Jersey Redevelopment Authority lament the fact that there's only been one RAD, revenue allocation district financing, done in the state of New Jersey. Other states call it tax increment financing. We, of course, the state of self-serve gasoline, call it revenue allocation district financing, RAD. George Jacobs, you pulled off Livingston Town Center without a RAD. Why aren't more RADs in place, and had RAD been available to you, how differently would your pro forma have turned out? What more could you have done to your project? What would you have done differently with your project had RAD been available to you?
Let's talk a little bit about what's actually happening here. There is a stream of cash flow. It's called ratables, real estate taxes. In Newark's case, they want to tax occupancy tax, hotel tax, livery tax, a lot of streams of income coming to the community that get generated by a new project. All of our communities are choking for failure to have tax revenue. These new projects, however, are generating more than not pure economic. That's what Kilo taught us. It's not a pure economic solution. We're generating jobs. We're generating new opportunities. We're generating hope. Livingston Town Center was an example of that. We had a failed project on the dominant location in the community, paying about $100,000 in taxes annually. When it was paid, it was subject to a lot of litigation, actually. We came in and built a new project, not completed yet. We built 80 residential units, 75 of which are occupied or sold. We built 65,000 feet of commercial space, all of which is occupied. We did a pilot agreement. We had an area in need of redevelopment. We solved the litigation over the tax situation that was going on in the community for about 10 years. We were a designated redeveloper. We did a pilot agreement on the commercial district alone. We didn't do a pilot on the residential. We should have, but we didn't. We lost a chance because the state policy has been against this kind of financing stream. We lost a chance to tap into the taxes that were being paid that were new. Let me give you some examples. We're now generating about $1.4 million in new taxes out of the residential units. We're generating $350,000 a year out of our pilot agreement from the commercial district. We're paying taxes still on the land that we haven't developed. We have another 34 units of about $175,000. What did we cost the community? Virtually nothing. We have sent 20 students to the public system. That costs about $250,000. We pay about $15,000 a year in refuse collection and about $3,000 in recycling. There's been no incremental police, no incremental fire, no incremental public safety. You put it all together, we had roughly about $1.4 million to date. That's probably going to go up to about $1.5 million to $1.6 million in net new cash being paid to the community. What would that have meant to us if we'd been able to tap into that at all? Let me give you some other statistics.